Community still in shock following the brutal stabbings of 4 of their students. So many asking, how did this happen? We start on the evening of Saturday, November 12th. Kaylee Gonsalves and Madison Mogan, where many college students spend their Saturday nights. At this local bar, the Corner Club on North Main Street in downtown Moscow. According to local law enforcement, the two were at the bar between 10 p.m. and 1:30 a.m. on November 13th. At around 1:40 a.m., Kaylee and Madison moved over to a local food truck. You can see them here on surveillance video from the grub truck down the street on South Main Street. News Nation has confirmed the two women used a private party for a ride home from downtown to their home on King Road. The home is about a mile and a half, or about a 6-minute drive from the food truck. They got home around 1:56 a.m., according to digital evidence collected by investigators. Investigators also say Kaylee and Madison made several calls to an ex-boyfriend of one of the girls 7 times, raising some eyebrows. That person has now been cleared, according to law enforcement. Kaylee Gonsalves' sister spoke with News Nation's Chris Cuomo.
There's no boy problem. There's no threat. There's no high-risk lifestyle that could have indicated this. It has taken all of us completely by shock, and we have absolutely no ideas.
Another roommate, Xana Kernodle, and her boyfriend, Ethan Chapin, were also out the night of November 12th. Investigators confirmed Ethan and Xana were seen at the Sigma Chi fraternity house on the University of Idaho campus. Here's where things get a little shaky. Law enforcement confirms with News Nation, Ethan and Xana were seen at the fraternity house around 9 p.m. They reportedly made it back home around 1:45 a.m. Investigators are still trying to piece together what happened between 9 p.m. and 1:45 a.m.
Figure out who they were with, what was going on, maybe any routes or paths that they took to end up going home, those types of things. Potentially, that is critical to the investigation.
As for the two surviving roommates, they were also out on the night of November 12th in the Moscow community. They returned home by 1 a.m. The two surviving roommates did not wake up until later in the morning on November 13th. That is when they called other friends to the house, because they believed one of the second-floor victims had passed out and was not waking up. At 11:58 a.m. on November 13th, a 911 call requested aid for an unconscious person. The call was made from one of the surviving roommates' cell phones inside the residence. Multiple people talked with the 911 dispatcher before Moscow police arrived at the home. Officers discovered Kaylee, Madison, Xana, and Ethan dead inside the residence on the 2nd and 3rd floors of the home, suffering from stab wounds.
It was a pretty large knife, so it's really hard to call them puncture wounds. And they were definitely stabbings, and I mean, it has to be somebody that's pretty angry in order to stab 4 people to death.
Story confirming that Kaylee had a stalker. So take me to that whole situation with the business in town and what you found out.
Yeah, this was interesting, Ashley, and we didn't expect it. We went to this vape shop in downtown Moscow looking for surveillance video. I mean, we've been going all over the place just trying to get any new information. And the manager actually knew Kaylee and Maddie. They had been there 6 or 7 times. And then he had a lot to say about the potential of this stalker. Listen to what he told me.
So Kaylee and Maddie would both come in very happy, very friendly. You know, they always were just such a smile on their face. Just like pretty much you would say they're the light of the world, pretty much. You know, always happy, go lucky. They always came in just chatting. They always came with a group, like I said. They probably I'd say 4 or 5 girls at most, all the time they come in together. And I made a joke about it earlier. It was like, hey, coming together and stuff like that. It's nice to see you guys trying to stay safe. One of them more or less openly says, oh yeah, we've had a friend of ours be stalked before, so this is kind of why we all travel in a group like this. And just was it Kaylee who said that, do you remember? No, it was Maddie who actually said that. So Maddie said it, and it was kind of like more mentioning, like motioning to Kaylee too, like who was right next to her. So you could tell that like they obviously all were trying to keep Kaylee safe, and be there for her as good friends. And then to know that a few weeks later now I won't see her, anymore, anything like that. So it's crazy.
How long before the murder about was that?
3 weeks.
3 weeks.
3 weeks beforehand, because I was telling them I hope they had a good Thanksgiving break and everything like that too, because I didn't know if I'd see them again. So, because with a lot of the times with the kids, with the way after a pandemic, some of the kids leave in waves. So I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to see you this weekend or not. Hey, hope you have a great, Thanksgiving with your family. And that was the last I saw them.
Did they elaborate any more on the stalker comment?
They more or less kept making the comment that it always seemed to happen either by the campus or down on Main Street. And the last time the Kaylee more or less made it sound like it seemed like it was down on Main Street, and that the person was coming from like around the Corner Club area, and then as far as I remember, it's the guy who ended up like trying to go and talk to her, and then he gave up on it, and he ended up walking away. So she thought she was being stalked up to a certain point, and then looked behind her, and he was no longer behind her. So
I just want to make sure that I get it right. So
yeah.
Just tell me again exactly what you remember.
Just more or less, I made a joke about them being in a group, and they just said, yeah, one of our friends motioning to Kaylee that she'd been stalked recently, and so that had people constantly following her around. And it's not just a one-off thing, that this is apparently something that Kaylee had tons of issues with. Apparently she always had somebody who's constantly walking behind her like that. So, and it was more so at nighttime when they were out there drinking and stuff like that. Because I asked them, like, is it at school? And she's like, no, when I'm at night, going out to the bars or coming back from the bars. And again, living down that way.
Did she specifically mention the Corner Club?
Not the Corner Club, but just in that general direction and stuff like that. So, the only reason I would assume the Corner Club is because that's the only bar that's down in that area anymore now. So, we used to have two. One was CJ's and then the Corner Club. It's just Corner Club now. Then a whole block before it mingles. So.
How many times did you see Kaylee and Maddie? How many times would they come to the store?
I'd say, now that I'm trying to think back in my head, I've only saw them maybe like 6-7 times total. So I'd say probably since the start of this beginning of this year.
Welcome back to my mental health and crime channel. My name is Huda London. This is for educational purpose only. I'm a licensed cognitive behavior therapist, that's a CBT therapist, and a licensed mental health counselor. May the 4 victims rest in peace. This is a case of the Idaho 4. May the victims rest in peace. Today I'd like to discuss about Kaylee Congalvis. May she rest in peace. In the beginning there was a lot of talk about Kaylee having a stalker. Do you believe that could be the case? Because honestly, when you look at Kaylee on the last night when she was at the grub truck, she looked like she was on edge. She was taking pictures of Shawalter. She was taking pictures of her surrounding. She was concerned about what Maddie told Adam. The police debunked the rumors very quickly. I wonder if they even bothered to investigate it. We heard the vape manager from the vape shop saying that he's seen Kaylee and Maddie over 6 to 7 times. So they were a regular customer there. He said that he's spoken to them, and Maddie told me that they surround Kaylee to protect her, that Kaylee has a stalker, and that the stalker has stalked her near Main Street, that's near the Corner Club, during the daytime. And she's seen somebody following her, and every time she stopped, the person kind of vanishes. So did Kaylee have a stalker? And if Kaylee had a stalker, that would be a bigger motive. Because we've heard a lot of stalking cases that end up in unalivings. Anyone could have been stalking Kaylee. Brian Koberger, John Jack Shawalter, allegedly, the Davids, her ex Jack D, Adam. It could have been anyone. Kaylee was taking pictures at the Corner Club of Jack Shawalter and the guy standing behind him, and Jovito. Her own father said that when Kaylee feels like somebody's talking or if she feels uncomfortable, she'll take off her camera and start recording or taking pictures. That should be a hint. How well did law enforcement investigate if Kaylee had a stalker? I remember them saying about two guys who were at Walmart or something and they saw Kaylee and one of them wanted to talk to her and he went behind her and he changed his mind and went back in his car. That they asked him questions and they debunked that. But that's not what the vape shop manager is talking about. He's talking about a stalker incidents near Main Street, near the corner club. And it would usually happen near the campus, he said, the university campus, or near Main Street, and especially at night when they went to the corner club. And I don't think Kaylee would have felt comfortable telling her father she had a stalker. I think everyone was busy with their own life. Why did Kaylee need to come back that night? It just sounds so unserious when the mainstream news media says that, oh, Kaylee came back because she wanted to show off her car. But we've heard Dylan Mortensen, DM, saying in her own memorial to the preacher, the pastor, she said that she went to Kaylee's house and invited her as a plus one. I wonder if there was a stalker who could have actually even gone into the house and installed a camera or put in a camera. And the reason I believe the stalker theory sounds so right is because I believe that Kaylee was sleeping in her room and she heard something and she went to Maddie's room and she got, unfortunately, unalived there. But at the same time, when you look at the stalker theory, it would make more sense because maybe that's the reason Kaylee went and slept with Maddie in Maddie's room, because Maddie told the vape guy, the vape shop manager, that they always surrounded Kaylee and they never left her alone because she had a stalker. Maybe that's the reason Kaylee was sleeping on Maddie's bed. I believe somebody was watching the victims through some kind of cameras. The whole house was being recorded, basically. I really think that the girls were being watched. That's why people were paying Venmos. You know, even this thought has come across my head a couple of times. What if whoever was doing the unalivings, the suspects, I don't believe it's one person, what if they had on a body cam while they were doing it? What if they were selling it on the dark web? Why did Saeed pay at 2:13 on the 13th of November 2022? Why did he pay $6 to David Baracho's Venmos? I've always said I believe this is all the frats doing. Sororities, inside jobs, surviving roommates. All these people need to be questioned. And I don't believe it was only one organization like the frats. I believe it was a couple of organizations because there's 3 unidentified male DNAs found in the house and there were 3 mixed DNAs found under Maddie Morgan's nails. These girls could have been watched while they were eating, while they were talking, while they were dressing. And this was Not a sorority house, it was an off-campus house. Somebody was literally paying attention to them. We even heard of the incident Brian Koberg allegedly installing a camera in one of the girls he works with or another girl's house. Or if it was the frats who installed cameras, they don't even really need to come in if they're working with DM or BF, allegedly. Kaylee's stalker could have been Jack D. Allegedly. Because he was the last person to be ruled out. He was an ex-boyfriend. They were on and off for 5 years, not for 8 years. He didn't pick up, strangely enough, 8 calls for Kaylee and for Maddie. I don't believe it was a drunk call like Alivida wants us to believe. Kaylee moved on with her life. She's moving on with her life. She's moving to Austin. She's going to Europe for a year on a vacation. So it doesn't make sense. We don't know what Jack D's alibi was. Why was most of the people suspecting him in the beginning of the case? The college students. He was at the corner club. Why did he have bruises and injuries? Was this a crime of passion, like the mayor said? Kaylee had a stalker, crime of passion. She got the most injuries and gouges or stab wounds. These crimes are all pre-planned, in my opinion. You can see the things happening at the grub truck, at Banfield, number 9 putting something in Maddie's mouth, the sorority girl coming to distract Kaylee while that was happening, the toxicological reports, even if it comes back clean, something's not right. Maddie was really intoxicated. John Jack Showalter could have been Kaylee's stalker. She's taking a picture of him. He left town that night, allegedly. He drove 5.5 hours to Boise, Idaho, to his parents' cabin. He had a case of disturbing the neighbors and disturbing the peace last October. Got a misdemeanor for that. The females who worked with him at the Flatbread Bakery, I think, or restaurant in Boise, Idaho, said that he was bothering them. He was harassing them. He was thrown out of the corner club for harassing Kaylee and Maddie. He could have been the stalker. He was kicked out of his frat. There's so many red flags with him. He was unaliving coyotes and throwing it in front of girls' sororities. So I personally believe Kaylee had a stalker. I don't think the vape manager had any reason to lie. And what is strange is the police was going around trying to get the cameras from the shop. The cams from the shop. Too late. By then all the information, all the pictures, all the videos had disappeared. Doesn't make sense. Please like, share and subscribe. Let me know what you all think about Kaylee having a stalker. That will come to crime or passion, definitely. Anyone could have been the stalker.